there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. In the first hour of the broadcast, I'm going to give you content, information for better sex, more money, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice, more strategies and gambits for having it all. The second hour is what I'm most excited about. It's when I get a chance to chat with you. Yes, you. Where you can call in, talk to me, ask me questions. And if you say the secret word of the day, you could win $5,000 cash. At the very least, if you're the most interesting call of the day, you could also win 10 ounces of freshly minted Marshall Sylver 999 Fine Silver. All of that and more. Brand new Mercedes-Benz sedan or SUV up for grabs. My personal Rolls-Royce Phantom up for grabs. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information about its release coming up. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. I'm Marshall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker.
Let me bring in our hypnotist, Marshall Sylver.
It's Marshall Sylver, ladies and gentlemen, the world's fastest hypnotist.
It is a good day. Welcome to this glorious day filled with love, health, opportunity, and potential. I'm finishing my acai bowl. I just got a nice little 3-mile walk in this morning, and I'm feeling healthy, and I want to keep it that way. Our guest today is a very special guest, Matt Gluckman. It was a skinny, weak, angry young man who struggled with social anxiety, depression, addiction, and a digestive disease, who turned into a personal trainer. Now has been coaching other people to overcome their challenges for over 10 years. He's on a mission right now to share his insights on how to help other people get out of their own way and turn their weaknesses into power. A nice, big Marshall Sylver welcome to Matt Gluckman. Matt, welcome home, man.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the opportunity being on your show, Marshall.
Great to have you here. Thanks so much for taking the time. Where are you located right now?
I am in Utah, Layton, Utah. So just like 20, 30 minutes north of Salt Lake City. It's a beautiful day out here. I got my workout in this morning, walked the dog, had a little breakfast sandwich, and here I am.
Lovely. So we love fitness here. I don't know if you know anything about me. I'm actually recovering from some knee trauma and haven't been able to really do much in the way of leg work for many months, since last September. So I'm very excited to be getting back to fitness. So why don't we start with your history? You know, how you went from the 98-pound weakling getting beat up on the beach to the stud that you are today.
You know, I was skin and bones. I was about 120 pounds soaking wet, leaving high school and entering my first year of college. And, you know, I was a soccer player and a wrestler. So wrestling probably made me more in the mindset of not eating enough, really. And it wasn't until the sophomore year of college where I went from, you know, 120 pounds to 150 pounds, because I basically actually started eating. Instead of just eating like a Nutri-Grain bar and swiping once at the dining hall, you know, you're kind of balling on a budget when you're in college. I started to eat like 5 meals a day. And working out 5 days a week. I had a little workout crew, and we'd go to the college gym and just pump some iron. And I was able to gain like 20, 30 pounds within 3 or 4 months. And I just knew that was kind of my therapy for me. But fast forward to after college, and the first job I got into was actually door-to-door sales. And I did love the competitive style of it and kind of the necessity around it. You know, you only eat what you kill. So if you don't get a sale that week, you know, good luck eating over the weekend. But it really it led me down a road of did real estate, actually opened up our own real estate office with a buddy of mine, and was just in the grind of easy come, easy go. And one day I was in the gym working out, and like, what do I want to do? Like, I'm good at sales, but I want to sell something that I love, that I'm passionate about. And I was like in the gym working out, and it like hit me at like a ton of bricks. Like, duh, this is it. This is what I want to do and sell. Essentially, because you are selling as a personal trainer, no beating around the bush there. But it was something that I'm passionate about. It's an impact into other people's lives to set them off in a direction to feel, look, and live their best life.
How old are you?
I am 34.
When did you come to the epiphany that you needed to do something and that you could?
Probably, yeah, it was probably 23, 24 was probably that epiphany, because I was a psych undergrad, and it was very competitive. I went to Northeastern University in Boston, and part of their program was a co-op program. So they try to fit you into a job like in between your study semesters. And I loved that program. I'm a very experiential learner. But it was a very competitive for the psych department, and you were lucky to get a co-op that paid. So I just always was working part-time jobs on top of school, and eventually kind of fell into different sales positions, and found that good sales is just good presentation and enthusiasm, right? And eye contact and personability. And I have all those
Psychology.
yeah, a little bit for sure. And I guess I kind of come pre-baked in with those skill sets, because I'm very fortunate. Both my parents were psych undergrads. So it kind of led me down that rabbit hole, for better or for worse. It was kind of annoying as a kid when your mom's asking you like 10 different times, like, are you sure you're okay? Are you sure you're okay? But it led me to understand that I wanted to basically use my skill sets in a way that I could also support myself. Because I think along this journey, like you said, my intro there, like I was super angry. Like when my parents divorced, I held on to a lot of anger and trauma that held me back for so many years before I was able to like let go of it. And kind of one of the major step functions in my progress was learning a lot of just profound quotes from other walks of life, whether it was like Winston Churchill or Viktor Frankl or Chris Voss or Ben Franklin, George Bernard Shaw. I mean, some of the most influential people, and learning some wisdom from them, and really attaching myself to those perspectives, even if I had to fake it till I make it. I'm a firm believer of like mindset and the law of attraction. But here's the caveat: is the law of attraction without action is just a distraction. You have to be doing things. You got to be putting in time, effort, and money, paying attention, right? Those are your like expendables, so to speak. And so you can't
So
just
it sounds like you're saying the secret is there's no secret.
Yeah, exactly. There's no one all-encompassing secret.
No, and I think the whole secret book was a very dangerous book. And I think that the challenge with the book, The Secret, and I had quite a few associates that were connected with that, and really talented people. But I think the whole idea inside of the book, The Secret, and the movie is very dangerous, because low-level thinkers read the book and think all I've got to do is will it into my life, just attract it.
I'm going to lay in bed and just pray for $1 million to be in my hands. Right.
Yeah. I'm going to see it. I'm going to visualize it. I'm going to feel it. It's going to be there.
Yeah.
And while that is step one, it definitely is step
for
one.
Sure. Right.
Unfortunately, they don't tell people it's just step one. There's some other steps you got to do. And the biggest step is you got to take some kind of action.
Yes.
And wouldn't you agree that that's where most people, they want the magic wand or button or magic spell or potion, and the challenge is you got to fail forward fast. You got to do the things you don't think you want to. I didn't want to walk this morning. Last night, because both my meniscuses were torn, my knee was in such pain. I had a hard time walking up the stairs to the bedroom last night, and both of my sons asked me, "Are you going to walk in the morning?" Because they want to go walk with us.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know. So I wake up to one of my sons standing beside the bed, staring at me while I'm waking up. And I know why he's there. He wants to know, are we walking? And when I woke up, if he hadn't been there, I might have rolled over. But I
Yep.
saw he was there, and I really am working hard to be a really good example to the people that I love. And he said, "Are we walking?" And I said, "Yes, absolutely." And got out of bed, went for the walk. Was in pain because we went for a longer walk than I have lately.
Yeah.
Except I feel phenomenal now. And for
Yeah.
and you know this, nobody ever says, "Gosh, I wish I hadn't worked out yesterday."
Right.
But plenty of people say,
Right.
"Gosh, I wish I hadn't drank last night."
For sure. For sure. I wish I hadn't eaten that, or I wish I hadn't spent all that money, and yeah, you bring it. It's like I love the quote you said there, but yeah, it's so important. The action part is so important, and one thing I want to just say to your story there is like we don't do it alone. We all have support systems, whether that's spouses, family, a pet, your social network, your other people that you're connected to with your career. But I think that's important, because it helped to have that accountability there of your son to be like, hey, come on, I want to walk. You sure you don't want to walk with me? But and then I think along with that, because it's very hard for people to kind of get out of previous maladaptive thought patterns and behavior. And it's really easy to stay in that comfort zone, but you got to remember that you got to get out of that comfort zone in order to expand your comfort zone. And so, yeah, like taking action, 100% the most valuable thing to do. But, I think it's important for people to recognize that our physiology, our psychology will hold us back. Like 80% of our thoughts that we're going to have today are the same ones we had yesterday. So you have to kind of keep in mind little things like that. I think another one that's important that I like to bring up is when you boil down the human experience, right? There's probably like 40,000 emotions, but they really come down to 4. It's anger, fear, sadness, and joy. So out of the box, 75% of our emotions aren't going to be the most enjoyable. And you need to know that going into this endeavor. Like it's going to be hard. You're going to fight some battles. A lot of them are going to be some personal struggles. Like I might have mentioned in my little bio there, but prior to finding success in personal training, my life could be summed up with this Mark Twain quote, which is, "Oh, my life is filled with such catastrophes, most of which never happen." You know what I mean? Where a lot of the baggage and pain and suffering was coming from my own perspective and my own internal struggles that I was carrying with me wherever I go. So I think along with the action, you got to remember this Marcus Aurelius quote, which is, "The impediment to action only advances action. What stands in our way becomes the way."
Yeah, I agree on two things. I have a belief there's only two emotions,
Mm,
and that the two emotions are love or fear, and that
mm,
everything's a derivative of those two emotions. And I believe that fear is a contraction, and that love is an
mm.
expansion. And
1,000%.
biblically speaking, there's scripture that says there is no question love is not the answer to. And what I believe
Mm,
that really says is there's no question an expansive mind is not the answer to, that it's not an either or world, it's an and world. And when we
yes.
can find the and, that is the celebration, that is the victory. The other
Yeah.
thing that I believe is that so many people don't recognize my knees were hurting this morning on the walk. And I kept
Mhm.
reminding myself that because there's a fear in me that I'm going to damage them worse
Mhm.
if I exercise them now. I also said the sensation you're feeling may just be you not using your knees. It may
Yes.
just be that you haven't been on these walks. So walk through it. Just let's test walking through it and see what happens. Because
Yeah.
so many times people work to get rid of stress, and successful people don't attempt to get rid of stress. I don't attempt to get rid of stress. I
Mm.
ask for more stress actually
Mm.
and embrace it. If you have your
Yes.
own company, that's more stress than being an employee. If
Yeah.
you decide you want to have kids, that's way more stress than not having anybody that you're responsible to. And
Yeah.
so I think that there's a misconception for people that they think they'll have a better life if they have less stress. And I say, no, you'll have a better life when you embrace more. And
1,000%.
very, very much like working out. You can lift weights all day long, and if you don't feel any stress, if you're not pressing, if it's not a strain, you won't get any
Challenging,
gain.
yeah,
There's no gain.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
you can lift those light weights all day long, and while there may be some benefit, slight gain. The major gain is when you work that muscle to break down.
yeah, yeah. Some good stress on the body. Like,
Yes.
there's a difference between distress and eustress. And you touch on a great point. I think there's so much misconception because they think it means without any stress or issues in your life. No, the most successful people have found ways to transform that baggage into the compost for their garden to grow, whichever direction they want to grow. I think that's such a key distinction. It's like there's a great quote that's like calmness during inactivity is not true calmness, but staying calm within activity is true calmness. Like, a ship is safe in port, but that's not what it's meant for. You're not supposed to just, be starry-eyed, age of Aquarius, pretend everything's perfect and avoid all negative feelings. You have to learn to integrate them together. And when you can take the baggage and the compost and churn it in this way that allows you to live through that love vibration, then you are a success and you've found kind of your superpower. And I think along with that, I want to mention, it's not just about, I do believe, you want to give your gift to the world, but we got to live in reality. And I think the reality piece that is misconstrued in that aspect is if you want to be charitable, you have to be profitable. You can't give away your shirt or else you have no more shirts to give away. And I think especially when people enter that entrepreneurial state, they want to just be that humanistic or humanitarian style person. I'm just like,
I'm not doing this
away
for the money. I'm just doing this to help
right,
people.
right. Like, no, be real. You are doing it for money, but it's okay because you have good morals and you're trying to make the world a better place. You're trying to mend a part of the world that's broken. But they have to kind of go hand in hand, and there is like little equations there that help you. Like, I love that you mentioned love versus fear, because another aspect that I use when I coach people is there's this emotional frequency chart, and you can Google it. It's like the Omega emotional frequency chart, and it's basically a cone, and at the bottom is like fear, shame, guilt. At the top is love, enlightenment, joy, success, and it's so true. Like, you can imagine those times where you're like fearful or shameful or angry. You're constricted, you're tight, you can feel the tension building. But when you're and you don't even probably want to have fun, right? Like, you see something that's funny, you're like, I'm not laughing at that. But then when you're in a loving, open space, you take everything like as it comes, and it doesn't really knock you off your horse the way it does if you're in a constricted state.
What's your routine in the morning?
It varies, but I would say I get up and I spend about 10 minutes just closing my eyes, sitting and breathing and paying attention, doing like a body scan. And you can call it meditation. I think sometimes people get afraid of that word meditation. But basically a 10-minute meditation, walk the dog, and maybe have a light breakfast and head out to my first session. And that's like, I do that 3 days a week. I train in person still. I still love that. But then 2 days a week, I do more like work from home stuff, remote training, podcasting, things like that. I'm working on a book, some of my other personal interests. So like Tuesday, Thursday, I get up, and after I walk the dog and meditate, I get a nice lift in. So that's kind of I would say that's my morning routine.
Talk to me about diet. What do you consume to stay fit?
Good question. I consume typically, we'll just say, real foods. I mean, when I first got into this road of personal training, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and it did make me kind of have to reevaluate some things. And I had to go to a point of like cooking and preparing my own meals. So yeah, I do give myself, if I'm having a breakfast, I'm going to scramble some eggs, saute some onions, some spinach, make a little breakfast bowl, or maybe have it on like a fresh croissant. And then I'm eating, typically for grains like white rice or sweet potato and yeah, eating something fresh and homemade. We're very fortunate here in Utah. There are a lot of good local mom and pop companies, and there's one that like what's vacuum seals and freezes like home cooked meals, so I can throw them on the crock pot and have the whole family can have like a fresh cooked meal without having to slave and spend too much time in the kitchen. But yeah, I mean, I eat mostly chicken, eggs, fish for my protein, have red meat maybe once a week or every other week, eat a lot of onions, eat a lot of spinach. And I also don't restrict myself. Like I love to have cookies. I love chocolate. I love ice cream, but I will find maybe some healthier alternatives. Like there's this Keto brand that makes ice cream out of avocado is their first ingredient. So yeah, I mean, I really am not super restrictive, but I do stay away from mass produced processed things.
I quit drinking alcohol almost a year ago. It's July 12th last year. And about 8 days ago, 9 days ago, I decided to restrict sugar.
Mm,
When I quit drinking alcohol, I started eating a lot of sugar and really craving it.
mm,
And I'd never been a sugar guy. My wife loves dessert, but for me, if I had dessert once a week, that was pretty common and standard.
yeah,
When I quit drinking alcohol, I'd have dessert every day, and sometimes
yeah,
I'd have two sweet treats a day. So I stopped, and then yesterday I hadn't eaten processed sugar for a while, and I was out to lunch with the family and decided to order a dessert, have a half a dessert with my wife. The moment I ate it, it tasted good, but the
yeah.
moment I ate it, it
The
was
knee
crack.
pain?
It,
Oh,
no, it was crack cocaine. The moment I ate it, what did I want? More sugar.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And again, now that I haven't been eating sugar, I'm extremely aware of what it did to me, and I literally started looking for more sugar, and I
Yeah,
went, "Whoa, this is cocaine, man. That's what it
for
is."
sure, for
And
sure.
so, all things in moderation. Like you said,
Yes.
you still like your sweets, and I don't envy anybody uh, that's healthy and is doing the right thing and likes their sweets. But I'll tell you that I don't think most people know what sugar does to their system, and I
Yes.
don't think most people realize that it actually, if you're trying to lose weight, it's just a little bit of sugar makes the system think, "Oh, I'm getting fat again. I don't need to burn any of these internal calories." And I could
Ex
feel my body going through a change right after I ate it because I hadn't eaten it for 8, 9 days.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of negative side effects with dumping in sugar into the system for sure. And one thing that I think does get a little misconstrued is like there's actually nothing that nature made that has sugar in it that doesn't have a ton of fiber in it. So fruit is fair game, but yeah, that processed stuff most of the stuff in the grocery store is either like super salty or super sweet. They're trying to really galvanize our taste buds so that we come back and buy more. I mean,
Yeah.
some of the highest paid psychologists you do these bliss point studies. So these big food companies get little kids and they find the bliss point of when it's the right sweet, savory, salty, crunchy, so that the bliss point is they don't stop. I could put a plate full of pork chops in front of everybody, in front of 10 people. They're all going to stop at some point. Their body's going to be satiated. But a lot of times with these products is, again, the science is working against us. They're not really nutrient dense and they taste amazing. The experience is amazing and so overpowering, so flooding our senses that we want more of it. Dopamine drops, and we just keep going. Right? They just want to make us buy more and eat more, but it's not doing anything for us.
It's just like drug addiction.
Yeah,
It's just like the corner drug addict. He wants to sell you enough drugs that he makes money, but not so much that it kills you. But he'd
yeah,
like to keep you right on the edge in the meantime if you're a buyer. And yeah,
exactly.
and again, it comes down to minor shifts for people.
Yes.
What did I shift during the 9 days that I wasn't eating? When I was conscious of the processed sugar that I was eating, my wife was making me up frozen banana desserts. So she was
Mm,
mushing up frozen bananas and adding in coconut and nuts, and it was amazing. She was
yeah,
making me up yogurt, without sugar fruit salads, and
yeah.
I was just loving them. In fact, they tasted better than normal.
Right, right. Yeah, because
And
usually. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and completely satiating. And that was the thing,
Yeah.
is that I didn't need a big bowl of ice cream or, a couple of giant cookies from Crumble.
Yeah,
And
right.
again, now that I'm not drinking, I'm more aware than ever of watching other people drink, and I never realized how much alcohol humans consume.
Yeah, yeah, it's
And
pretty
I mean,
amazing.
boggling to me. I now, we go to a baseball game, and I realize the entire baseball game is just there to sell food and liquor. That's
Yeah,
what the game is for.
yeah, that's their highest profit margins, right?
Yep, yep, alcohol.
Um, yeah, it's so socially acceptable that it's just not even thought of. I mean, it boggles my mind sometimes when these fitness videos pop up or articles pop up and it says, "Oh, don't eat sugar, but you can have a glass of red wine at night." I'm like, what do you think wine is made out of? It's fermented sugar, you know? And to say that the fruit was bad, but the alcohol is okay, it's like obviously there's some other influences behind why that article was put out or why that study was done. And
Guaranteed, it was done by a scientist that drinks wine.
right, exactly,
Yeah. I
exactly.
remember you're too young to remember this, but when cigarettes first started being marketed, there was a brand called Lucky Strike, and
Mm,
their ad campaign for a while was 4 out of 5 doctors who smoke recommend Lucky Strikes.
yeah, yeah. No, I do remember doing the deep dive and finding those advertisements, and it was like a great stress relief, right? It was promoting it as a health benefit. It is amazing how the
What a
tables
spin!
turn. I know, I know.
What a spin!
But
So, what are some of your favorite techniques? Things that have worked really well for you. One of the things that I know works for me is if I don't get my workout in first thing in the morning, it's probably not happening. Almost
yeah,
certainly isn't happening. That
yeah,
I've got to roll out of bed and get on my walk or get to the racquetball court or get to the weights first thing, or life takes over, and that's one of the things that gets overlooked.
yeah, yeah,
Any
yeah.
any tips from you?
Yeah, I think um definitely make it simple, make it digestible. Don't overload yourself with, you know, especially people when they first start, like, oh, I'm gonna change this, I'm gonna change this, I'm gonna do all these, I'm gonna do 10 different things at one time. So just focus on doing one good thing for 2 weeks. I think a good place to start, which I was gonna mention about the whole sugar thing, is the whole 30 was a big impact for me. And it was like just cutting out all the things that I was kind of habitually eating as like the lab rat without even knowing, made a world of difference. Like to your point about the sweetness, I remember, and they have a little calendar where like by the third week you can expect the sugar dragon to come back, like your cravings really kick in. But I remember after doing that 4 weeks and biting into just a raw pepper, a sweet pepper, and just remembering how sweet it tasted, and it was like biting into an apple. And it's because sometimes we flood our senses, so we starve our sensitivities. But so back to your question though, I think it is important. It's really the same journey as entrepreneurship. It's finding the inspiration to why you need the discipline to make your health a priority, to make self-care a priority. I think motivation gets too overplayed. I like the quote that's like motivation is like a shower. You need to, do it every day. So I think in that aspect, like don't be so hard on yourself. Fitness doesn't have to fit a same bubble for every person. It doesn't mean have to do barbell work for every person. It doesn't mean you have to, eat chicken and rice every meal. Find the little steps that you can continue to make consistent, because the compound effect is so profound and so influential that if you can do small little changes consistently over time, you'll be amazed at the results in just a matter of time. So I think finding a way to enjoy it, integrate it into your schedule, and again, making it does take discipline. You do have to in the beginning kind of fake it till you make it, until you can kind of juggle fitness into the rest of the cog of your life, and all the other responsibilities that you have.
Why are Americans so fat
Um,
compared to the rest of the world?
yeah,
It's really gotten to the point where that is the identifying factor for people from other countries to identify Americans. They're fat.
because we
And
can, because we can. Seriously, there's a great show called Foods That Built America on the History Channel, and one of the first things that we did after the agricultural and industrial revolution was really show our prowess, our ability to produce something and get it to all over our country immediately. And it really did become like kind of a little bit of a brag of like, well, look at us, look at what we can do. And it wasn't born out of, you know, necessarily an evil, but I think it's really snowballed into this, well, kind of showing off, I think, of how much we can consume and how much we can waste. And, you know, we're a very wasteful society. Like, I think 60% of organic material ends up in trash cans and landfills and doesn't get back into the earth to recycle. So
basically, we're plump Renaissance women showing off
yes,
that we can be.
1000%. That's a big aspect of it. I think another thing is there's a great wheel that's like hard men create, or hard people create tough times create hard people create good times, and it kind of keeps going around and round. So we're kind of at the stage of good times created weak people. You know, we don't have any real pressure.
Enemies.
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
and I think that's what's going on with America too. We don't have any real enemies. You know, they're trying to make Putin into a threat, and they're attempting to find ways to make us feel threatened. But I think Putin is certainly smarter than current leadership here in the United States. And there's no way in the world Putin wants a nuclear war. Why would he? The world doesn't exist anymore. But I think
and to that point, like, so many people can get bogged down fighting their neighbor over, you know, you cut my lawn, or, you know, your weeds got on my lawn. And it's like, that's not that big a deal. But you lose sight of that if you don't have some sort of outside pressure, or unfortunately enemy, right? I mean, since the 20s, we've had like an enemy du jour. And what the good side of that, the silver lining of that, is it has made the country work together to know that, like, well, at least we're all Americans. But somehow in the last 15 years or so, I feel like we've lost sight of that. It seems like it's this red versus blue game of who can make the other one look worse. And it's like, hey guys, you got a job to do, and in the end of the day, we're all Americans. Let's just work towards a goal together. So to your point, yeah, I think we probably have an enemy looming around the corner that will help us come together and recognize how good we actually have it with each other.
Well, and I think you hit the nail on the head. I've often said that if aliens from outer space landed on the Earth and threatened us today, all human distinctions or differences would vanish.
Yeah.
Because the aliens would be the greater difference. Yeah. And I think that is what's going on in America. That's why you've got woke idiots, you know, tearing down historical statues and attempting to throw wrenches in gears. I got into a discussion 2 days ago with somebody about Pride Month. And they said, does your business celebrate Pride Month? I said, do you celebrate Hanukkah? They said, no, I'm not Jewish. I said, exactly. And they said, well, yeah, but it's about inclusiveness. I said, I love my Jewish friends. I still don't celebrate Hanukkah. Yeah. I said, why would I celebrate Pride Month? I'm not gay. Yeah. I don't need a month to remind myself that I like my friends regardless of what their point of interest is. I said, that's not the point. The point is whether I celebrate Pride Month or not, it's got nothing to do with how I treat my neighbor. Yes. How about I just treat my neighbor quietly well and not have to publicize that this woke attitude of you know, posturing for other people that say, hey, aren't I great? And businesses that do it, even dumber, dumber. Yeah. You know, so my friend didn't know what to say, and you know, they were not happy with me because I wasn't putting up a rainbow colored flag. I said, I'm happy to put up a rainbow colored flag. I love the rainbow. You know, it's biblical. They said, well, not that rainbow, they said. And I said, you stole the rainbow. I don't know how to tell you this, but you stole the rainbow. You appropriated it. And you're telling me appropriation isn't appropriate. I can't paint my face black. I can't put dreadlocks on my head. I'm not allowed to wear a headdress with feathers in it because that's appropriation. But you appropriated the rainbow as your symbol for pride. But you're telling me that if I don't also appropriate it, now I'm a bigot? No. Yeah. So it's just insanity going on right now. It's
a lot of misinterpretations of what the solution is. And it's a repeat of like pink shirt feminists from back in the 60s and 70s who were rah women put down men, thinking that women were oppressed. And you look at the statistics, and men have higher suicide rates, men have higher dropout rates, have higher failure rates, have higher depression rates. So you got to remember to live in reality. And if you're going to talk about people who are oppressed, you got to remember that you're voting for equality. You're about all inclusiveness. And kind of to your point, something that actually they did here in Utah was they found that they were popping up like on different college campuses that had like an African American center, but then like a Latino center, and then this center, an Italian heritage center, and all these little centers and minority centers where people could go for support. And then they just said, you know what, we're going to make all of these centers just a marginalized center. So like anyone who feels like they're not getting the resources and support they need, they're welcome to come. And that's the part I think that matters most. It's like, let's not divide by, social, economic, race,
gender, ethnicity, or
right. Like we can
economic status.
understand those and learn from them and learn from the deficits and who had, more advantages than others. But I think we do ourselves a disservice when we divide ourselves even further, because it gets us away from that that point that you made earlier, where like all you need is love. Like the Beatles said it best, right? All you need is love. And we lose sight on all the things that we have in common when we focus on that 1% of what divides us. And then that becomes our reality. What we pay attention to grows in our awareness. I went to a public school up until like third or fourth grade, and I would have never been able to delineate between race, class, whatever. And then after I went to public school, I remember like recognizing like, wow, there's two white people and a black person. And it's like, why am I even thinking in those terms? But that's how it was kind of taught to me, and to be aware of that versus just being aware of there's another human being, like, hello, how can I help? Like, the light in me honors the light in you type of deal.
And people are going to see distinctions. It's the frame of reference of that distinction that matters.
Yes.
I had a black man come to one of my seminars, and after the event, he walked up to me and he said, "You're amazing." I said, "Thank you." He said, "I want to take this information to my people." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I want to take this to my people, my community." I said, "What community is that?" He said, "The black community." I said, "Oh, I didn't realize you were a racist." and he looked at me like I was an idiot. He said, "What do you mean? I'm not a racist." He said, "I just want to bring this back to my community." I said, "I didn't even notice that you were black until you told me that. It hadn't even occurred to me. It wasn't even on my radar. It wasn't something that even passed through my psyche until you said that." So do you realize that Black History Month, Pride Month, those separate groups on campuses are doing the exact opposite of what you want them to do?
Yeah.
If you have a place where people can go to be heard and feel safe, God bless it. Awesome. I get it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Right.
We used to call that a church, at least a healthy church.
Right.
But the challenge is that we can be controlled when we're separated. We can be controlled when we're fighting amongst each other. And I think that is the last piece of psycho screwery, brain messing stuff that the powers can put on us, is make us fight so that we don't see what the government's actually doing to us.
Yeah. 1,000%.
Hunter Biden gets convicted of 3 felony gun charges yesterday or day before. And people think, oh my God, see, that just goes to prove that anybody can be prosecuted. And yeah, that's what they want you to think. But the fact of the matter is, they've got a laptop that they now have to acknowledge is real. And he was charged with things stemming from the laptop, buying a gun while under the influence of drug, and then lying about it. But they don't want to believe the rest of the stuff that's there. And so I think we're in a place right now in our world where good people think everybody's good, and horrible people think everybody's horrible, which is how they justify their behavior. Everybody steals, everybody kills, it's last man standing, survival of the fittest, and all those things that they say to justify their bad behavior. And again, the challenge is honest people think everybody's honest. Dishonest people think, oh, it's okay if I lie. Everybody lies.
Right.
And I think that's where we are right now, is that that again, we're in a place where it is appropriate to scream loudly, and that
Mhm.
people that scream loudest are usually the only ones heard, because polite people just shut up and nod when they realize it's futile. No point in arguing with a donkey.
Yeah, yeah. No, you make a lot of good points in there, and I think the kind of the most important thing is like, yeah, we're supposed to actually come together and really supposed to have conversations with our neighbors versus getting so caught up in the 24-hour news cycle that just wants to divide us. I think there's a pretty old quote that's like, who controls the media controls the mind of the public. And you're right. I mean, the best thing they can do is divide us, because then they have a reason to lead us. But if we're a united culture, united society under this in this great nation together from all different backgrounds, and we bring those together, it can only make us stronger. They had that whole issue with um what's his name, the kicker's speech, and Patrick Mahomes really had a great way to address that. He just said, there's a lot of guys in that locker room. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different viewpoints. We all have different, beliefs, but that's what makes us stronger as a team. And we all work together towards this goal together. I have every respect for everyone in that locker room, and I may not agree with everything that they say, but I can appreciate their willingness to say it. And they even have done studies where they'll have like 10 people in a room ranging from extreme left to extreme right, and they'll talk about different topics, and then they'll remove the left, and then the people on the right start talking, and they start to adopt some of the more left perspectives, because they feel like, well, we're missing this angle of the coin, or this perspective. And same thing when they move the people from the right side, the left start talking more of the right. And the idea is that they still appreciated that perspective was being brought to the table. Even if they didn't agree with it, they still knew it needed to be brought to the table in order to kind of find that synergy, right? Some greater connectivity together than the sum of its separate parts. But you talked about the believers and things like that, and the liars. And there's a great quote I want to read by Nick Cohen, a British journalist and author and a political commentator. And he said, "Compulsive liars shouldn't frighten you. They can harm no one if no one listens to them. Compulsive believers, on the other hand, they should terrify you, because believers are the liars' enablers." So you really got to just help people like think for themselves and educate them and live their best life. And that's what I've really tried to do through personal training. Is I think what's good for the bee is what's good for the hive. So if I can just, each life that comes through my door, if I can make them live their best life, find their passion, how they, integrate into their society and community, then I feel like I've kind of done a little bit of my part. And eventually, we can tip over to the key distinction that we're looking for as a society as a whole.
I think that we are in a period that there's going to be massive amount of good growth, because I would agree wholeheartedly that sometimes people need to feel the pain
Mm,
to
mm.
understand the lesson. And I think that right now there's not enough people that feel pain to understand the lesson of what is got to be taught. And life will teach us lessons. The lessons will get harder until we've learned them, and we'll know we've learned our lesson when we finally change our habits.
Yeah.
I have 3 children, and they're all very different. Last night, my 9-year-old daughter made the entire family a meal. She scheduled
Oh,
the
wow.
date. She said, on next Wednesday, I'd like to make a meal for all of you guys. She printed up menus.
That's
We
so
all
cute.
we all placed our order from the menu of what we wanted. She went into the kitchen and made everybody's meal individually,
Yeah.
and then served us, came down and served us, and it was just amazing. The thing
Oh,
is
I'm
that
coming over for breakfast sometime.
I don't well, she set a trend last night at dinner. It was such an amazing experience.
Oh,
I said, I'd
dinner.
like to do this once a week. One of us makes the meal for everybody else. And
Oh,
you
that's
bring whatever
adorable.
magic you want to the meal, but once a week, you are responsible for the meal for the rest of the family. And what a great creative thing, what a
For
great
sure.
service thing, what a
Yeah,
great habit to be in.
for sure.
And so we've got a society that's being trained, and I think there's an agenda. I
Mhm.
think that since Biden went into office, and the massive amount of money coming from the government, I think is designed not to assist. I think it's designed to weaken. Because if it had been designed to assist, all the money wouldn't have gone to completely broke people and big businesses, because that's
Yeah,
who it went to. The big boxes were allowed to stay in business, and the little guy was allowed to get money from the government so they could go spend money with the big box.
yeah.
What that did, that forced all the small boxes or the mid-sized box businesses it forced them out of business. And
Yeah.
I think that that is the consolidation of wealth that our government is seeking to do, but also
Yeah.
a consolidation of ideals.
Yeah.
And, you've got people arguing. Nobody in their right mind at this point could argue that the scamdemic was anything except. Everybody has to acknowledge and say it wasn't what they told us it was. Standing
Mhm.
6 feet apart served no purpose other than to alienate us from each other. Wearing those masks not only looked stupid, it was stupid. Even the manufacturer said it didn't help.
Yeah.
And now they're uncovering all the crimes that the vaccine companies committed in rushing this thing to market, getting a mandate that required their product in so many places without
Yeah.
ever actually disclosing their product didn't do anything except kill people. And
Yeah.
so you take all those things, and since reality is created by validation, there's got to be voices. You said it already. All I want to do is train one person at a time. All I
Mhm.
want to do is help one person at a time understand better health. Then we've got that echo goes into their family, it goes into their businesses, goes to their
Right.
clients, goes to their country, goes to their world. And
Right.
I agree with that. It's walking down the beach and seeing 1,000 starfish, picking up one and throwing it back in the water,
Yeah.
knowing you're not going to save 1,000, but you're going to make a
Right.
difference in this one's life.
Exactly.
And
And
that's what do you think? I think that's a good strategy for us to live our lives by every day. I say hello to most people that I pass when I'm walking because
yeah.
they might not have anybody else today look them in the eye and make them feel special.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things I want to unpack, but and then I'll answer your question. But I think to your point, like our government has made a profit of staying divided and pretending like there's this game going on of red versus blue, so they never get anything done. I mean, the biggest bipartisan agreement was banning TikTok, and we've had how many school shootings in the last year or 2 years, and we couldn't come together on anything. But then they come together to talk about banning TikTok. Why? Because it threatens where their stock portfolios are. It threatens where their investments are with Facebook, Google, Alphabet, and those companies, those private tech companies, know that about TikTok. It's not because the Chinese government is monitoring all this stuff. It's because it threatens their growth model. So they're a direct competitor, and thus the politicians who have their pockets lined with these stock portfolios in those tech companies say, okay, yeah, let's do a bipartisan deal. And it's like, wow, really? That's the first thing you guys could come together and agree on in a few years. And so, yeah, so I just had to add that tidbit there. But kind of back to your question, I think you do have to make your world smaller. I think you can overwhelm yourself by imagining your whole life all at once. And so I think the best thing about the future is it comes one day at a time. So life is kind of like driving in heavy fog. Just worry about what you see in front of you, and then when you get there, you'll see a new thing in front of you, and you'll decide what the next step is there. And then I think it is also important to touch on just a. I lost my train of thought. Sorry, I'm kind of all over the place, but I think again it comes down to what are you passionate about and what do you want to change in the world for yourself? Like think about when you were a kid, what you wanted when you were a kid and what wasn't there, because I think there is an aspect that continues this cycle of trauma, and it's basically if you suffered a lot when you were younger and you think you turned out fine, so thus you think everyone around you needs to suffer to turn out fine, well, then you in fact did not turn out fine. And I think with that it comes from like do your own healing so that you don't continue generational traumas, and live your best life, because that's what's going to ultimately be the best for those around you. Like the best thing you can do for other people is work on yourself.
I would agree. Hey, it's been great having you on the show. I have an event that I do in Las Vegas about every other month. It's called Turning Point.
Okay.
And the tickets are only $3,000 a piece. I would love to have you and a guest be my guests at that event. The next one we've got coming up is July 16, 17, and 18. It's
Okay.
right
Yeah.
in Las Vegas, and I would love to have you there so I can meet you in person.
I would love that. That'd be great. Yes. I'll have to get more information on that from you.
Absolutely, whatever you like. You can find out more about it by going to sylver.com /TP, and it'll tell you all about what Turning Point is. And like I said, I look forward to having you there. Before we wrap up, how do people get a hold of you?
They can go right to my website, thinkfitnesslife.com. There's a contact form on there. You're welcome to email me. It's thinkfitnesslife, all one word, @gmail.com. I always recommend, if you're in Utah, to set up an in-person consultation and first free workout. I think I can really relay the best information and teach people the best in person, but I do also remote work as well.
Awesome, man. You can find him on Instagram at thinkfitnesslife. Matt, thanks so much for being on the show. You're
Marshall,
amazing.
thank you.
You are loved. Make it an awesome day.
Thank you so much. You are loved as well. You have a good day as well. Take care.
Thank you, friend. You bet. Bye now. Good stuff. Hey, if you haven't made plans to be at Turning Point, it is your fortunate day. I'm going to invite 3 people to join me at Turning Point. You got to be the first 3 people to call 1-800-92-POWER. When you do that, I'll give you 2 tickets to Turning Point worth $6,000. Get a chance to come spend 2.5 days with me. Have your entire life changed. I've been teaching it for 40 years. Over 1 million people have come through it. And this particular event is going to be spectacular. You want to be there. To give you an idea of what Turning Point is, take a look at this video.
Turning Point. A total change in direction for the better.
Who here is ready for a turning point? You absolutely have to have one. Put them high.
The 2-day Turning Point seminar is different than any other program in that it does more than just teach you the skills for your relationships, wealth, and power. It also programs you on a subconscious level to put those skills into immediate use.
This weekend is about empowerment. This weekend is about you understanding how to take charge of your own life.
You will learn total control of your thoughts and emotions. How to use PND, or psychoneural duplication, to take on the thoughts and actions of others to produce similar results. Whether it's losing weight, changing habits, being a millionaire.
When you think what a millionaire thinks and you do what a millionaire does, you'll produce similar results.
You will learn to program these powerful tools at a subconscious level for immediate and lasting results.
Your conscious mind is what's called your critical factor. It's the mind you're using right now to determine whether the information I'm giving to you will work for you or not. Your subconscious mind, on the other hand, is merely a computer. It's non-critical. It doesn't even have the ability to make judgment. So all trance, hypnosis, reprogramming is setting aside the critical factor of your conscious mind and non-critically accepting suggestions.
And empowering.
To make a fear vanish, you must experience it fully.
As it helps you create your life exactly the way you want it. Bring your family closer. Find the love of your life. Create strategies for wealth. Learn irresistible influence, and so much more. Because of the intimate nature of this course, seats are very limited. Register now before your life passes you by and there are no more turning points for you. Tens of thousands of people have learned this information and are using it daily.
You don't get angry if you get fired from your job and you know that within 2 years you will be a multi-millionaire.
It's your time.
There's a way for you to win this game that is different than how you're doing it, and it works.
It's your life.
When you learn how to do that, you become more powerful, and power is for use.
It's your turning point.
And there you have it. It's a show, baby. Hey, we want to see you at Turning Point coming up next month. That's just a few weeks away. In Las Vegas, good place to travel. 2.5 days will change your life forever. I'm Marshall Sylver. I want to be your personal millionaire maker. Thanks for being with me today. I'll see you on tomorrow's show. Hey there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show coming up 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. I'm going to give you content, information, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice for having it all. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. So stay tuned.